Nikki, do you know what I've got?
Go on.
And no, it's not that Chelsea Flower Show tea towel that you want. Remember, show first, shopping later.
So professional. What have you got then, Angellica?
Well, it's that Friday feeling because we've got a jam-packed programme and I feel like we've saved the best till last.
You are absolutely right. Let's get this party started. Hello and welcome back. This is it, Angellica, our last day together at Chelsea 2021.
It really has been magical. And the weather, glorious.
How lucky have we been? And what a week, but I still have a few things to see. I've got to go shopping.
Yeah, of course you have to go shopping.
Oh yeah, house plants, garden plants.
Well, I've got house plants sorted. My house has been transformed, but you have this amazing apple sculpture that I'm really jealous of.
Beautiful.
So I'm going to have a look for some of that.
There's still time.
Of course there is. So many amazing things still to see. And let's not hang around because here's what's coming up from the RHS Chelsea Flower Show, an event supported by M&G.
We'll be celebrating harvest time, from pickled strawberries to the best cut flowers to grow in your garden.
Comedian and Masked Singer host Joel Dommett will find out if Mum really does know best as he and his garden designer mother Penny take a tour of the showground.
And we'll be catching up with one of the NHS staff who'll benefit from Arrit Anderson's Garden of Hope when it's relocated after the show is over.
First though, with winter around the corner, it's tempting to lock the patio doors until the snowdrops start peeping through in spring. Well, resist that temptation, says Frances Tophill, because there are plenty of evergreen plants to see you through a cold snap.
I'm here on one of the small but perfectly formed balcony gardens. This is a great example of how you don't need a huge space to have greenery in your life all year round. You just need to choose the right plants. And this is one of them. This is a strawberry tree, or Arbutus unido, and it's a really lovely shrub. It has very waxy, quite glossy evergreen leaves with a rough margin and really unusual red fruit. You can eat them, although they don't taste as delicious as a real strawberry. There's nothing more exciting to me than a plant that you can use, and even better when that plant is also evergreen. This is a trailing rosemary, so it's not quite as big as the ordinary plant. So it works really, really well on the edge of a pathway so that as you move through your garden, you're continually releasing that scent. Now, of course, they have a mass of flowers on them through the spring and summer, and in a warm place, they may even flower in the winter too. It can be white, pinks, purples, or blues, and the flowers are absolutely amazing for bringing in bees and pollinators. This is a camellia, and I have to admit, it's not traditionally one of my favourite plants, but like this, I love it. All that's happened is that the stems have been cleared of their lower branches and it just looks glorious. You can just imagine it in the winter with lovely, glossy, generous green leaves and these beautiful bare stems. It would be a real showstopper in your garden. It also has absolutely beautiful, very showy flowers in the very early spring, and you can see the buds forming already. And these like acid soil. So if you don't have a naturally acidic soil, you can grow it in a large pot and fill it with ericaceous compost, and you will have an amazing specimen in your garden all year round. I've come into the pavilion to look at a kind of evergreen that may not automatically spring to mind. These are bamboos. Now, they're an old favourite, but they have developed a little bit of a bad reputation because they do something called running, which is when the roots send out big runners that pop up through your lawn and probably through your neighbour's lawn as well. So if you grow them, which I highly recommend because they are beautiful, just make sure you keep them in a pot or prepare your hole with a barrier that will stop them from doing that. And the lovely thing about these is not only are they beautiful, but they sound amazing, especially as those autumn winds pick up. And it just goes to show that your winter garden can be verdant and versatile.
Thank you, Francis. It is, of course, the time of year when all sorts of produce is ripe for the picking. But today, James Wong isn't interested in your common or garden pumpkin. Oh, no. He's on the hunt for the adventurous eats. And the Great Pavilion is a good place to find them.
As a botanist, I'm fascinated by the fact that although there's an estimated 50,000 edible plant species on our planet, most of human civilization really only relies on about 50 of those, which means that we're missing out on 99.9% of the edible options that are out there. And the best thing is, if you want to step out of the ordinary, there are a huge amount of species that will grow perfectly happily even on our blustery North Atlantic islands. Dahlias were originally domesticated by the Aztecs, but not for their incredible flowers, but their edible roots that look a little bit like small sweet potatoes, and their flavor is much more like a conventional spud, but with a nuttier flavor and a more buttery texture. And they also have a number of horticultural advantages. They're not affected by blight in any way. Secondly, you get this as a display, proper spectacular. Generally, the bigger the plant, the larger and lower in fiber the roots are. So if you were to go like for an enormous cactus variety, they're the best to eat. In Japan, it wouldn't be surprising at all to see hostas in the edible section of a catalogue as much as the ornamental one. In fact, they were originally domesticated in Japan as a sort of spring delicacy. The bit you eat are the young unfurled leaves that sort of form a cone in the very start of the spring. They look like asparagus, they taste like asparagus, you can even cook them like asparagus. So Graham, I'm absolutely fascinated by your stand because I've been walking around the show and seeing so many unusual edibles you can have outdoors. But if you have that luxury of some glass house space, some conservatory space, you've just got them all. So walk me through some of them.
Absolutely. One of my favourites here is the sugar cane from the West Indies. This one you chomp on the bamboo-like stems, but do wash your teeth afterwards. There is a slight dental issue if you don't, but it's
so if you have excess canes at the end of the year, you can just snip one off and chew on it and all of the sugary loveliness.
Absolutely. Then we have the Naranjillo, the member of the Solana family from Peru.
It's in the same family of tomatoes. It has these amazing spiky leaves. And then that fruit that has that really sour kind of grapefruit-like flavor, a little bit like gooseberries. I used to live in Ecuador and I used to love that stuff in smoothies. And over here you got another kind of Andean Ecuadorian plant. Tell me about this.
This is the papaya, which is the archetypal classic jungle plant. It's the alpine form, so it doesn't mean it's any hardier, but it does mean it's a bit shorter, so it fruits at much lower height.
It's basically a dwarf version of the papaya, the babaco. I absolutely love how it looks. And what it really shows is you don't have to pick one or the other. No. You can have incredible ornamental houseplants that also might give you an edible benefit.
Absolutely.
Some great ideas there for adventurous gardeners. Now, I'm here with parsley box designer Alan Williams to find out how, if we play our cards right, we can enjoy the fruits of our labour all year round. Alan, what are we creating today?
So we are creating a pickled strawberry today. So we're doing a soft fruit pickle, basically.
I'm going to be honest, I tried your strawberry jam the other night when I was roaming the showground. It was delicious.
Thank you.
The bench was set high.
Yeah.
Is this going to be just as good?
I think it's going to be better.
Go on then.
Okay.
Right, show me.
So the first thing we need to do is we will get our strawberries and then we will hull them and then we will either quarter them or halve them. Just depends how you fancy them, basically. And we will put them into a lovely kilner jar. So let's get some in there.
Does this jar need to be sterilised?
Yes, it does. So we would sterilise this before we started this procedure. Don't fill them right to the top because we've got to add a few more things into that jar.
Right.
So we need to make our pickling liquor now.
Yep.
So to start that process, we need some peppercorns into our pan.
Right.
So these are black peppercorns and they just really give that lovely peppery zingy flavour.
One scoop?
One teaspoon of peppercorns go in. We also have a bay leaf.
Yes.
These are amazing and just add so much flavour. So we put one of those in. now we need to just take a bit of sweetness into it, just to take the sharpness off the vinegar.
Yeah.
So we will add 50 grams of sugar into this, which is 1/4 of a cup, basically. So,
And can you use basically the same sort of ingredients if you're pickling strawberries or carrots or something else?
Yeah, so this is just the basic pickle. So actually you can do that. You can get your carrots, you can shred them, you can ribbon them, and you can just make any leftovers, basically. Make up this basic pickle, and then they will keep longer than the strawberries. But
Great way of using
So
food.
we now need some liquid. So we've got 200 mils of water, which we will add in. And for this pickle, we are using cider vinegar.
Right, why cider vinegar?
Just because it's a sweeter vinegar and it just goes with the strawberries better.
Yeah.
So yeah, so we will also add 200 mils. Let me just measure that out.
While you're measuring that, I was just thinking, you know, so many of us when we go to the supermarket or perhaps open the fridge, we look at strawberries and we think, are they just beginning to turn, or can I have one more day? It's a great way of using up fruit and vegetables, isn't it? Not throwing it away.
Not throwing it away. And as long as they haven't gone soft or they're blemished, they're absolutely fine to use. So the cider vinegar goes in. And then I think citrus is always great in a pickle, basically. So I think we should put in the three pieces of zest into our pickling liquor.
What's the next step?
We're in this beautiful garden and we need to use some of the beautiful herbs in it. So rosemary goes really well with it. So a couple of sprigs of rosemary goes into the liquor. Then we need to bring that up to a simmer for a couple of minutes. And once we've done that, here's one I made earlier.
Very good. In it goes.
In it goes, a bit of rosemary in there, and then we pour this liquid in. Perfect. And the last thing is a chilli.
Yes.
We've pricked the chilli, and just to release its flavours, and we just place that in and seal it up.
Perfect. And put a little tag on it so we know how long it's going to be fresh for.
Yeah.
2 weeks?
About 2 weeks. Leave it a couple of days in a dark cupboard, and then enjoy.
A beautiful garden, Alan, and a fantastic recipe. Thank you very much
Pleasure.
indeed. Sure to be celebrating a haul of lovely produce at this time of year is grower and designer John Wheatley, whose Chris Evans Radio 2 Taste Garden had mouths watering like this at Chelsea in 2017. But he's a man of many talents, is our John, and this year it's his dahlias that are gracing the Chelsea gardens.
My name is John Wheatley. I'm involved with Stone Barn Landscapes, run by a very young team of people and my wife. Well, for me, a dahlia lover, it's going to be quite interesting to get the dahlias. Here they are, loads and loads of them. And the normal flowering period for dahlias are September. The previous exhibits we've done with the National Collection of Dahlias and various other exhibits have always been forced dahlias, grown under lights. If I'm ever going to muck it up, it's going to be this year. I wouldn't like to count up the gold medals we've been involved with, but it's over 20. We've done very well over the years. It's so exciting, actually. You lose your hair, mind, but apart from that, it's great fun. We're looking at 2 seedlings, the only 2 of their sorts in the world. They were from seed taken last year. They're both dark foliage dahlias. These single ones, they're cut and come again flowers. They're colourful, but they actually encourage all sorts of flying insects. And they're visual, and the insects pick them up. And what they do is come in and take the pollen and the nectar, and they then go off to the next plant. They are very open, very honest, and the insects can go straight into them without any complications. In fact, the insects are as good as pollinating these things, if not 100 times better than I am. It flowers from somewhere in the region of May through to November. They're not frost hardy, but we say now grow them in pots, sink the pots into the garden and take them in during the winter, and then they'll come again. We've been doing that for a few years now. The other great thing is they're lovely foliage plants, and you can use them as cut flower as well. Well, I tend to try and name one dahlia a year after something really topical. We're looking at 2 new seedling dahlias, one of which is going to be named COP26. anything that will raise the whole concern about climate change in a positive and fun way, that's the way we will change people's opinions.
Incredible passion there from John. And if you are a dahlia fan, there are plenty of stunning displays to enjoy here, including this one, Dahlia Beach, which I love. Look at it, it's just such an exciting stand. And it's been causing a bit of a stir here at Chelsea. Every time I walk past, there are groups of people standing around celebrating this flower, and you can see why. It comes in all different shapes and sizes. A particular favourite is the cafe au lait here. Look at it, bold. And another one as well is Senior's Hope, because it's dark on the back of the flower, on the petals, and then light on the inside, which is really beautiful. But my particular favourite is Linda's Baby. It's peachy and wonderful, and it's a lovely little pom-pom. Now, in a moment, Nicki will be chatting to comedian and host of The Masked Singer, Joel Dommett, and his mum, Penny, a garden designer no less. But first, here's what else is coming up. Mark Lane is going shopping. He'll be looking at how to get maximum colour and texture in your garden this winter without breaking the bank. Toby joins Sarah Eberle, Chelsea's most decorated designer, as she reveals the essential elements we all need to know when designing a garden. Who better to ask? And we'll find out what president of the RHS, Keith Weed's favourite exhibit across the entire show has been as he bestows his President's Award. Now though, Nicki has found Joel and Penny Dommett in a quiet corner of the Florence Nightingale garden.
Yes, I'm here with Joel Dommett and his mother Penny. Now, Joel is a comedian and host, of course, of The Masked Singer, a show that is as colourful and exciting and as unpredictable as Chelsea can be. Welcome to the show. Are you looking forward to having a wander around?
Very much so.
Yes, definitely.
It's very exciting. I haven't been here since 2003 when you did a garden here.
I know, it seems like a long time ago.
She won gold.
Is it? I stand up. Well done. A gold medal. And also, is it true you won People's Choice as well, Penny?
Look at that.
We did. I had a fantastic team and it was a real experience. I mean, not one that I would like to
She hasn't been
repeat.
back since.
Why is that?
Because really,
stress of it.
I now work building gardens for people all year round, and it is so satisfying and it's a wonderful thing to do. Show gardens are so clever in the way that they build them, and they're here for such a short time, and every plant has to be absolutely perfect. Yeah. Whereas building permanent gardens, completely different.
It is a little bit different. So let's take you back to 2003. I mean, Joel, were you involved at all?
I was a little bit involved. I remember coming here to visit you, setting up. First of all, I remember getting here when you were setting up, and I remember it just literally being like piles of mud.
Yeah.
And it was really raining that year, wasn't it?
It was terrible, yeah, it rained a lot.
And there was just diggers everywhere and just mud and wet. And
Did
then
you
I came
get
back,
involved?
A little bit, got my feet a little bit wet.
Yeah, you did,
And
yeah.
then I picked up a spade, was doing absolutely nothing. If anything, just making the situation worse, you know. And
So you weren't tempted then to go into the same line of business?
well, I actually did the landscaping for your gardens
Yeah,
for a while,
yeah,
didn't I?
you
When I
did.
was sort of
Yeah.
19,
How
maybe.
was he?
It's sort of, well, he used to literally earn some extra money.
Yeah.
So I would set him off and say, could you weed that bed there? And he'd grumble a bit, but he'd earn a bit of cash, and then he'd go off back to London to do his stand-up.
To the bright lights.
Exactly. I just started stand-up comedy, and then I used to come back and then earn some money back in Bristol, like making her gardens, putting down, you know, paving and all that stuff, and then would go back to London, do stand-up comedy, and thinking it wasn't going to lead to anything. And now I'm back at Chelsea Flower Show. It's gone full circle.
Gone full circle. So your gardening styles or your gardens, very different, I believe.
We have very different styles, don't we, Mum?
Go on,
Very.
explain.
We couldn't actually be further apart, really.
Right.
Yeah.
Joel's garden is very crisp, clean, modern, lots of straight lines and edges. Mine is very rural, country, soft planting. Every space in my garden has a plant in it.
It's so full.
Literally.
So full of beautiful plants.
Yeah.
And it's like, it's one of those things where Mum's garden's like, and there's a lot of them here, it's like, it's almost this sort of thing where it's beautifully planted and so meticulously perfect, but it's supposed to look like it's been there for 50 years.
Absolutely.
And that's the idea of it.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So, using your time here, what are you hoping to achieve? Because it sounds like you're going to go in one direction and you're
Yeah.
going to go in the
Yeah.
other.
Yeah.
What are you going to influence? How are you going to influence him?
I honestly think that there are certain plants that can translate into both gardens.
Okay.
So things like grasses, miscanthus, which is looking great at the moment.
Yeah.
And there's lots of them around in Chelsea this year. You've got miscanthus in your garden.
Have I?
Yeah, you are. You
You
see,
got
I didn't even
miscanthus.
You
know.
have. And I've got miscanthus in mine because it offers a lovely soft backdrop to the more traditional planting like roses and...
This is going to be
Yeah.
interesting.
It is so
Will you be
fun.
It will be
talking by the
interesting.
end of it, I wonder?
We you know,
Of course you will. Of course you
we'll be at
will.
blows. It's going to be wonderful.
If I end up with a sculpture and you end up with 2 roses, we'll
There we go.
See how you
Look
get
at
on.
that.
Yeah.
Well, enjoy your time here together, and
you.
we'll see how you get on
Thank
a
you.
little bit later on. Joel and Penny, thank
Thank
you.
you.
At this time of year, lots of plants in outdoor spaces like to take some time out for spring, and that can leave our gardens looking a little bit sad. But I've enlisted the help of Mark Lane, top garden designer, to help us out. What can you do for us?
I've got lots of ideas. I know the colour might be fading, but there are lots of plants that have got shape, form, colour, texture and scent that will see us all the way from September through to May time.
What, they can withstand frost, the cold, they're that robust?
Yeah, absolutely. Frost, sleet, snow, heavy rain, they will still bounce back, and the plants don't need to cost a fortune.
Ooh, I feel a challenge coming on.
Ooh, I love a challenge.
I'm going to give you £100.
Ooh, is that your own money?
Don't ask. And I'd love you to go around the show and pick out some plants that we could use during those winter months. Is that a deal?
Yeah, absolutely. Ooh, canvas. Thank you, Billy. That's exactly it. Just what I want, a lovely fern for that texture and the greenery throughout the whole of the winter months. Achillias are great for that mid-level tier. They come in a range of colours. Now the colour will fade over the winter time, but we've got it there just for its structure. And then lower down, we've got the beautiful heuchera. That lovely red leaf will keep that colour going right the way through till springtime. These violas are absolutely perfect for finishing off this winter display. They're going to flower from September all the way through to May, and at around about £5 a plant. I've just come in under budget.
First question I'm going to ask you, is there any change, Mark?
A tiny amount, not much.
Okay, but how did you get on then?
Really well, actually. I mean, there's a beautiful Cotoneaster. It's a pendulous one. It has this lovely weeping habit. It's quite tall. It's going to use about half the amount of money, but it has these beautiful red berries, which the wildlife are going to absolutely love.
Okay.
And then to tie in with that, I've gone for sort of the mid-level, a lovely Achillia. So Achillias are brilliant because although the colour might be fading, you've got these lovely umbels, and they will stay that shape all over the autumn time. So the little insects can go in there and hibernate over the winter. Then, for some more extra textures, remember we've got the texture from the Achillia, we can then go for a beautiful fern. Now the ferns are great because they're going to give you that lovely texture as well as movement when there's a slight breeze. And I just want to show here, you know, you can get different ones, so depending upon your budget, you can always go for a smaller one and then let it grow onwards.
Right.
Then, to pick out that lovely colour of those red berries, this beautiful heuchera.
I love that colour.
Isn't it gorgeous?
Yeah.
Really lovely. And that will stay like that all the way through the winter months. Really beautiful. And then in spring, up come these tiny little flowers. And then for shots of colour right now, you can't really beat violas. I mean, I love violas. Now this one here, we've got beautiful blue and yellow. And also, it's got that little honey scent. So I've got you colour, I've got you texture, I've got you shape and form, and I've got you scent.
Mark, 10 out of 10.
Thank you very much.
Now, all week, Toby Buckland has been sharing his beginner's guide to garden design, and today he's asking 18 times RHS gold medal winner Sarah Eberle to reveal the key elements you need to create a harmonious garden.
Congratulations are in order with you, aren't they? It's 18 gold medals now, isn't
That's
it?
right. That's right.
Psalm 23, what an impressive garden. Large landscape distilled down into a smaller one. And that's why I thought I'd bring you here to the Trailfinders Garden, the foothills of the Himalaya.
Absolutely, and I am so delighted to be here because it's the first time, and I've been walking past during construction.
Have you?
And as soon as those big evergreens went in at the front, I thought, oh, it's so tantalising. It's got so much atmosphere.
And walking through it, you get this feeling or sense of adventure. How's that been achieved?
Well, I mean, it's by bringing the spaces in. He's got great volume, and that sort of 3D effect really brings you into the space. And actually reducing and making sort of slightly mysterious footwalks is lovely. And the stream coming through, you get aspect from here. I just love the textures in this garden.
Yeah.
I think it's a triumph.
The Florence Nightingale Garden, this has got the wow factor, hasn't it?
It certainly has.
Yeah, it's lovely. I've got a thing for working gardens, and this is a working courtyard. It's going to go to a hospital when it's finished its life here at Chelsea. Does it meet its brief?
I really think it does. You know, courtyards, they're difficult spaces because they're finite and everybody wants to make their space bigger. And this wonderful structure that we see here stretches the whole length of the garden. And if you look carefully, the pillars here that support it are not equal distance. So they seem to stretch the distance that we're looking down and create false perspective.
So designer Robert Myers has been thinking like a painter.
Yeah, absolutely he has, and he's achieved what my clients always ask me to do, which is make the space appear larger than it is.
Oh really? That really makes me laugh. Do you say, I'm not a magician?
I always say I'll do my best.
I thought we were taking the high road, Sarah. One of discovery, innit? The M&G. The Willy Wonka charm of the pipework I love.
Oh, I love it. Well, what have you found that you really like?
Well, there's that, but actually it's these. It's the kickback from the track, white stripes. It's nice to be by the tracks and not getting shouted at.
Yeah. Have you seen the bird's nest over there? Yeah, you see, you've got to really be looking. And what about these old pieces that are obviously from some cog into the pathway? I think it's wonderful, the attention to detail and the layers of interest.
And layers of interest have got to be a good thing in a pocket park, which this represents, because I guess for people coming back time and time again, seeing something new is what it's all about.
Absolutely, and you can see it in the planting as well. You know, always something new to look at.
Oh, Sarah, it's been such a pleasure going around the garden with you. We'll have to do it more often. It's so illuminating.
Oh, it's been great fun, so thank you.
The Grey Pavilion fills 3 acres. That's 48 tennis courts. It's quite a space to explore. There's something new around every corner, as Rachel de Tame has discovered.
Hello there, that's looking good.
Hey, thank you.
So I'm here with Gemma Gray, and you are the Horticulture Technical Manager at Co-op.
I am.
So
Hi,
lovely
Rachel.
to meet you.
Lovely to meet you.
I know you're trying more and more to work with British cut flower growers and fair trade growers as well. So
Yeah.
how has that been working?
Our customers expect to see fair trade products, they expect to see British flowers, so we've got really long-standing relationships with mostly family-owned farms, which is great.
And you've won a gold medal, which is incredible because it's your first time here, isn't it?
It is, it's unbelievable, and we're just overwhelmed by the response from the public as well. It's just been fantastic.
Can we just have a walk around
let's
the
do
display?
it.
Have
Yeah.
a look. Thank you. I have to say, Gemma, my first impression is wow.
Thank
There
you.
is so much colour on the display. It's beautiful.
Yeah, we've really tried to dial up the colour.
So what's the theme of the display?
One of our key messages is fair access to education for children, so the central display is very much around a children's playground.
My eyes are drawn to that Alstroemeria wall, and I've seen that it says grown in Cornwall.
Yeah, they're grown in Cornwall by our grower, and they've been doing it for over 60 years, so yeah, we're really proud to have them on show.
I have to say, it's all so beautiful. Matt. Hello.
Hello.
You're a very important person to me because you're a British flower grower. So what sort of flowers do you normally grow in your farm?
We're growing about 20 different types of flowers. Delphiniums like this are ours, but we're producing things from February right the way through to November.
Of course, you were initially planning for a May show. So what was it like for you to try and readapt everything for an early autumn show?
There were a few tricks employed. So at the Pacific Giant Delphiniums, we opted for the Chelsea chop, which is where we cut some of the flowers down to encourage these shorter, later blooms.
I grow lots of cut flowers at home. I absolutely love doing it. It gives me so much joy. What sort of tips have you got for people for how they can get the absolute best from their own cut flowers?
I think annuals are a lot of fun and a fairly inexpensive way to experiment.
I think what you've achieved is fantastic here. And you know what? Never have I felt better dressed to stand in a display.
Time to find out the outcome of one of Chelsea's most prestigious yet unpredictable awards. This was the moment earlier this week when Royal Horticultural Society President Keith Weed presented clematis grower Raymond Everson with his President's Award.
There is nothing better, and I'm here personally to give you that.
Keith, thank you so much for joining me right now.
It's great to be here.
So let's talk about this President's Award. What's the criteria for it?
Well, the great thing about the President's Award, and the reason why it's a little bit unpredictable, is there isn't a criteria as such. So when you look at the judging around all the various gardens, a very strict criteria, multiple points and multiple judges. And the delight of the President's Award, I decide. And so the criteria is literally as I go around and see what particularly catches my eye and why.
So it can be anything within the showground?
Anything within the pavilion.
Right, just to be clear, so anything within the pavilion. And what was it about Raymond's clematis that stood out for you then?
Well, I mean, just look at it. Yeah. Here we are in the end of the year, in the autumn, and we see this amazing explosion of colour. Now, to achieve this, and obviously there's thousands of plants here, you have to be really at the top of your game. And of course, Raymond is at the top of his game. He is a top breeder and an expert, globally recognised expert in this area. And what I love, I've been here since Saturday, every single day I see him on his hands and knees, adjusting, keeping it fresh, etc. You know, we're days in and it still looks absolutely fabulous. To achieve this time of year, and now if you were back in May, okay, but this time of year to achieve this is real skill. This is someone who's got cultivation really to the optimum to make it happen like this, and it's a celebration to me of tremendous colour in actually a slightly more sombre, quite rightly, that's the way nature is, autumn.
It is a wonderful display, this, absolutely beautiful. How have you found all the other exhibits for this time of year?
I have to say I love it, and I love the way we've been celebrating this week. This is a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity. We are not going to be doing the Chelsea Flower Show in September. We return next May with the RHS Chelsea Flower Show. But when you see it, you see actually there's an amazing amount of innovation. One often says that innovation comes out of all sorts of different crises, and actually having it this time of year, you will see lots of innovation from all sorts of growers and landscapers and garden designers, and we've got that more warm hue of autumn rather than the slightly brighter pastel tones of spring. So I think it's been really exciting. I've absolutely loved it, and everyone I've spoken to felt a real energy across the industry that gardening's back, horticulture's back, and look at this. This shouts to me horticultural excellence, and that's what it's all about. Amazing.
Keith, thank you so much. And of course, a huge congratulations to Raymond, who continues to wow the judges at Chelsea 50 years after his first exhibit. Now, earlier, Joel Dommett and his mum Penny went roaming in search of ideas to bring a bit of naturalistic beauty to Joel's regimented borders. Let's see if Penny managed to convince her son to a softer way of gardening.
Oh, Mum, this is me.
This
It's a bit of me, this.
is perfect for you.
It's not your vibe, is it?
It's a little bit too neat and tidy.
Too modern-y.
Too modern, but it's perfect for you.
You would just cover this in plants. Look, you got plants, you got random rods sticking out all over the place.
And also, I mean,
Arty.
This water feature here is
do you
just
like
so clean. I mean, I'd love to throw a few plants in there.
It looks like art, but it also looks like a leaking pipe. I like that.
Yes.
It looks like
It
on
definitely
purpose,
does.
but also a mistake. And that is me through and through.
Yeah.
What do you think about a hammock? You
Are
know?
they actually comfortable to sleep in?
Genuinely comfortable sleeping, yeah. Yeah. Just lying there dreaming of Carol Vorderman.
That's more than your mother should know. Oh my gosh.
Look
Joel,
at how beautiful they are.
Look at this.
It's like an
incredible.
alien.
These are Dryopteris. Yeah. They're so pretty.
You said that as if you remembered it, but it's actually got got a label on there, everybody. Wormwee.
Your wormwee.
Oh
I mean, how
that must have
fantastic
taken
is that?
years to extract.
Joel, this is so me. Come and see.
What?
Come and see. This is absolutely perfect. Oh, this is so brilliant. Now, this is what you call a garden just full of colour. This is so much more my type of garden.
This is very
And
you,
this
isn't it?
This is perfection.
It's like a massive bunch of flowers.
You could actually have a single colour plant like a Gora that
Yeah.
would give it a bit of softness.
It's absolutely gorgeous.
Isn't it?
Gorgeous. Is that a crocosmia?
It is a crocosmia.
I know that.
You've got crocosmias in your garden.
I've got crocosmias in my garden.
Can you see those
beautiful.
flower heads?
Yeah.
They look fantastic up against.
That's
do you
what
see
it's
this?
supposed to look like when it's not in my garden.
Yeah.
I really like that.
Yeah.
That is more. That's my vibe. I think the grasses are almost like a good compromise between my sort of garden and your sort of garden.
I think they'd really soften it down a little bit.
Yeah, I love it.
Definitely. Let's go and see if we can find some more grasses.
Oh, I like
Yeah,
this.
come
Come on, let's go.
Looks like they had the most fantastic time. And we're almost out of time, as is the RHS Chelsea Flower Show 2021. But before we say goodbye to all those lovely gardens, it's comforting to know that many of them will live on. Arit Anderson's Garden of Hope will have a permanent home at the Rosewood Mother and Baby Unit in Dartford, a centre for new mothers with serious mental health issues and their babies. Yesterday, I met one of the centre's key staff members on the garden. I'm pleased to welcome the unit's senior occupational therapist, Sarah Garraway, to the garden. Sarah, well, welcome. This is going to be your garden shortly, isn't it?
Absolutely. It looks absolutely beautiful.
Stunning, I think, is the word we're after, but it has a deeper meaning as well. So first of all, can you tell us a little bit more about your role at Rosewood?
Absolutely. So I'm the senior occupational therapist, so I work with mums on their recovery journey individually, helping them to become more independent and happy and comfortable in their role as a mum and carrying out all of their daily activities. And a big part of that is group work. So I oversee and manage the group timetable, run lots of the groups, and I've got lots of exciting plans to run some lovely groups right here in this garden.
So the mums will be here with their babies as well?
With their babies. We do lots with mums and babies. So some of the groups I run will just be for mums, things like relaxation, exercise, and then others will be with the babies. I run a sensory class each week, lots of bubbles and props and singing, and it's really great for bonding. So we've got lots of lovely ideas. The sensory garden we can bring in for the cooking groups. We're going to run barbecues out here when the weather allows, some one-to-one sessions in the little private area that Arit's designed. So lots of ideas.
You mentioned the designer Arit. I was fortunate enough while the garden was being built that she actually gave me a one-to-one about this garden. And it did move me to tears because you stand here and everyone's really, really enjoying it, but the bigger message is so important, isn't it?
Absolutely.
There's secluded areas that people, as you say, can exercise here. That's, I'm guessing, really important.
Really important for their recovery, just to have this lovely, beautiful, therapeutic space with lots going on, lovely, comfortable areas, shaded areas for the babies. I think it would just promote a healthy recovery journey. It helps people reduce their anxiety, lift their mood. So I think it will be fantastic.
And the good news is, it's not just the mums and the babies that are going to appreciate and get to use this space.
Yeah.
It's also your colleagues as well.
Oh, we just all feel so lucky to have this garden come into our unit. At the minute, we've got a lovely garden. It's a big space, but it's nothing like this. It's going to completely transform it, I think, Nikki.
Yeah. I love the different areas and also how people can enjoy this space.
Oh, they absolutely will. Even just us sitting here, so I can imagine sitting here with a couple of mums, the babies being down here, doing a few little singing groups even, just having a chat. I think it's going to be amazing.
Absolutely. We know how much looking at the wildlife and appreciating our green spaces has helped us all, especially if we're going through mental difficulties.
Yeah.
And I'm sure the mums, the babies and all your lovely colleagues are going to appreciate it too. Thank you very much.
Oh, thank you too. Thanks for having me.
It's just lovely to think of Arrett's Garden providing a little bit of comfort for everyone at the centre. It's wonderful.
Absolutely, and Arrett's beautiful design will live on. Now, it's our final Chelsea clinic of the week, and who better to round it off than the recipient of the RHS Victoria Medal of Honour? It's Carol Clyde! How do you feel? Oh, look, she's all modest, isn't she? How do you feel Chelsea's gone this year?
Autumn Chelsea, brilliant.
Yes?
Yeah, wonderful.
Are you ready for your questions?
I want them.
Right.
Come on, Tracy. What's your first question?
I've grown a wisteria for the first time this year, although it had tiny little buds on it. I don't know how to prune it or cut it back, or if I should.
Right. Establish a framework. It's just a young plant. When you've got that all in place, growing just where you want it, prune it twice. Once in the winter, once after it's flowered in the summer. And if it doesn't flower, just gas. And prune it back to 2 buds from where those dangling shoots came out. Sharp parasecateurs, and eventually it'll flower beautifully for you.
Wonderful. Kathy's got in touch on social media. She says, should she cut back her crocosmia, I hope I said that right, in autumn, or leave it until spring? Hashtag Ask Carol.
Well, this is a crocosmia. Nice, isn't it?
Beautiful.
And it's a corm. So all corms, all bulbs, they get all their energy for the next year from that foliage dying down. So leave it alone.
Leave it alone, right.
OK, Jasminda, ask away.
Thank you. When is the best time in the year to prune my roses without killing them?
Yeah, you won't kill them anyway. They're indestructible. Don't tell me you have already. No. It really doesn't matter. There's a rose grower in here who prunes his back to 1/3 in about March or April. It really is almost impossible, and some roses don't even need pruning.
Thank you.
Finally, Gillian Doherty says, I've got a new hydrangea limelight planted. I planted it last year. What's your advice on how best to care for it? Should I dehead it for the big blooms next year? And by the way, I live in Scotland.
Right, doesn't matter where you live, it's a tough, hardy shrub. This is one, this paniculata here.
Gorgeous, isn't it?
Really
yeah,
lovely.
absolutely lovely. But they've achieved these great big flowers by cutting it really hard back. And you can do that anytime from the autumn through to the spring, because it flowers on new wood. So all those new shoots it makes in the year, the harder you prune it, the bigger your flowers will be.
Good advice. And we have seen so many hydrangeas, haven't we,
Yes,
throughout the gardens. Are they easy to grow as a general rule?
Absolute cinch. That's why they're so popular.
Right.
Yeah.
Really easy peasy.
I've got them in my garden. What
You
about
love
you?
them. It's one of your favourite, and they come in so many different colours. It's really glorious, isn't it?
But this clinic has been so helpful because so much of it is about pruning, isn't it, and getting it right. We've had so much advice. Carol, as ever, what a joy it is to have her. Thank you so much.
Yay!
Oh, thank you.
All your top advice. And thank you to everyone who's joined us this week. I'm already counting down till we're back for Chelsea 2022. Guess what? It's just 240 days to go.
I love how you know the number. Now, if you can't wait that long for your flower fix, there's more from this year's show tonight at 7:30 on BBC One with Sophie and Joe. Then Joe will join Monty over on BBC Two at the slightly later time of 8:30 p.m.
But that is it from us for now. Have a great weekend. Take care.
Bye-bye.
Bye.